Hey y'all, Cactus Chan here. I just wanted to welcome you to another video. This time, we're going to be reviewing the update from October 16th, 2020. So this update just came out, so I'm going to be going over the design notes and giving you my thoughts on what has changed. So, we got a Cyber Hunter revamp. This has been in the works for a couple weeks now, and a couple of new items. So I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom here. So we have some new weapons. Snork. These were already previewed beforehand. So let me pull them up here. So first of all, we've got a couple of sidearms. I'm not a huge fan of the color scheme, but the design of the weapon is pretty cool. They also have spread fire on them, which is a nice gimmick, I guess. They're a little expensive. They're 50,000 base cost apiece. This, by the way, is the 6th pair of spread fire sidearms in the game, so that's pretty cool. Not much more to say about those. Then we have a couple of new Augses. These are interesting because the color scheme is similar, design is similar, but these have Soul Siphon on them, and they're available for credits. So this is the first time since Soul Siphon was released a couple of years ago that Soul Siphon has been available on an item for credits. So now all non-variant players can buy these Auxes. They cost the same as the sidearms, 50k a piece, but that's pretty good considering this was a variant only core before this point in time. Because Soul Siphon, obviously, as most of you probably know, is a very good auxiliary core, especially for more tanky focus builds. It can even be used for high damage builds, but overall it's a very good core because you not only reduce your opponent's energy, but you also get some for yourself. So that is a very interesting decision on the part of the developers. I think it was a good one, personally, because it gives non-variant players a bit more of a chance, especially in the recent meta, which has not been very kind to free-to-play EpicDuel players. So next up, there's Rusted Mini Reputation and Char Fade. Now, not too much to say about that. It's limited rare, so that's available for 75,000 credits. The other interesting thing that was added was a couple of new bots. Those are available at Big Tuna. So let's take a look at those. Scroll down here. Here we go. So much like Plasma Fly and Cyber Shark, both of the attacks have special effects. The first one, this is the useful one in my opinion. It's a 30% lifesteal, so I'm assuming that's normal robot damage. This will be really good for non-bloodlust classes, so Tech Mage, Cyber Hunter, Tactical Mercenary, and Mercenary, they don't have bloodlust, so this will be good. For focus builds especially, I think this will be especially good for Tactical Mercenary and Mercenary because they really thrive with focus builds. Tech Mage and Cyber Hunter don't really as much. This one, there is an issue with this one. So it's a multi-attack. It does 90% damage as opposed to a normal multi, which would do 85%. The problem is that this does comparable damage to Spore Bombardment, which is on Botanical Borg, because that also ignores 10% of defense or resistance. The problem with this one is that it's only one use, whereas Spore Bombardment is multiple use. So this will be absolutely useless for 2v2 and Jug unless it is made multi-use. So I would 100% recommend doing that. Then I think this bot could actually be pretty good, especially in 2v2 for non-bloodlust classes. Okay, so moving on. We have a new achievement. That's for the 2020 World Series, which I'm a big baseball fan. It's going to be an interesting one. We're still in the middle of the championship series right now. I actually haven't bought this yet, so might as well go over here and get it. It's 10,500 credits. It's worth 1,500 rating points. And there we go. By the way, if y'all don't watch baseball, would highly recommend. It's the best sport in the world, in my opinion. Alright, now, here comes the really sticky part. The balance changes. So, Cyber Hunter got a pretty big overhaul, so I want to really break down in detail what is going on here. So, a lot of people were complaining about how the support Cyber Hunter Plasma Grenade build was really annoying because Plasma Grenade was recently changed to improve with support instead of technology, so people started using really spammy high support builds, would use Plasma Grenade on the first turn, and if it's stunned, that was basically game over. It wasn't like a super reliable build for getting wins, but it was a really great build for getting stupid RNG based wins. So they decided to revamp Cyber Hunter, and I have a lot to say about the changes they made. So first of all, let's go with the more tame ones. They changed up the skill tree a little bit, so Plasma Grenade is now up here. It does not stun anymore. Instead, it scales with the same stat, does the same amount of damage, but instead it reduces resistance by 20% for 3 turns. That's an interesting thing. I think that might be a little weak because even against like 400 base resistance, that's only going to be minus 80, which isn't terrible, but I will get to why that is not such a good thing later, aside from the fact that it just isn't a very strong debuff. The problem is, where's Malfunction? Well, Malfunction is gone. They removed it from Cyber Hunter, and this, in my opinion, was a terrible mistake because it was the only thing really keeping the class afloat. The problem is that you only really had 3 builds that were even close to viable before this update. You had the support build, which I mentioned before. You had Focus, which was still weak against Bounty Hunter and more physical-based classes, but could kind of hold its own in certain situations. That did rely a good bit on Malfunction because that improved the support, and as you probably know, Focus builds tend to have a good bit of support, so that was kind of its main way of dealing damage. And obviously the other one was Strength support with Massacre, which utilized Malfunction to great effect. Problem is now, it doesn't have Malfunction anymore, and this debuff from Plasma Grenade is pretty awful compared to what Malfunction did, because it doesn't even reduce technology, it only reduces resistance and not even close to the same amount. So what new skills do we have here? Well, first of all, we have Pulse Punch. So it requires a wrist blade. You strike an enemy with a chance to stun. I want to dwell on this one for just a second. This is, I'm not going to mince words here, this is an awful skill. This is absolutely terrible. There is no extra damage on the strike. You have to upgrade it to level 5 before the stun chances even equal to other stuns. It only goes up to 25%. It requires 120 energy, plus 15 per level, so let's just upgrade it to max really fast. So 255, and it has a stat requirement. I don't know what they were thinking when making this stat. Let's go back just a little bit. You remember this skill? So this is the 8th of July, 2018. This is the wiki revision for Maul on Mercenary. This was before it was changed so that it used to be that it was a flat defense ignore and a evolving stun chance. Now it's the other way around. In the next revision, notice it ignores a percent of the defenses with a flat stun chance. So here, I want you to take a look at this. Ignores 25% of defenses and base 20% stun chance, going all the way up to 47%. And guess what? Pretty comparable energy cost. It was plus 20 per skill level, but 90 at base versus 120 for Pulse Punch. And goes up to 270, which is only 15 more than max level Pulse Punch. And a 47% stun chance. Let's compare that here. Again, 25% max stun chance for 255 energy. And you have to have 33 dexterity to use it. And you have to have a wrist blade to use it. And it does not ignore defense. It doesn't deal extra damage. It doesn't do anything except a chance to stun. This is the fourth melee stun skill that we see in this game. The other ones are Maul, which I've spoken about already. That ignores defense. Then you have Terrify. That has a stun chance, and it reduces strength. And you have Frenzy. That has a stun chance, and it has lifesteal for the user. This does not have any additional effect. It costs way more than Frenzy. I'm pretty sure it costs more than Maul. It costs more than Terrify. I don't know how they thought this would ever be a viable skill. It needs to either do way more damage, have a way higher stun percent chance, or have a really strong additional effect. Get rid of the risk rate requirement, get rid of the stat requirement. No one is going to use this skill except as a level 1 last-ditch effort to stun the enemy and get a lucky rage win. Sorry I went on a bit of a rant there, but this also has a one-turn warm-up. No, just no. I'm sorry. This is just such a bad skill. So before I rant too much more, I want to move on to the next one. So this is the replacement for Massacre. Massacre is now gone. Same stat requirement. The problem with this one is, look at the description. Sure, it ignores... so it reduces defenses by 15%. That's worse than this debuff, which I already said wasn't very good. You compare it to Massacre. So let's go to Massacre. This is the latest revision of Massacre Cyber Hunter, which is no longer on the class. 40% to 130%. 20% lifesteal. Let's go back here. You notice any differences? 10% lifesteal. That's literally half the effectiveness of the lifesteal. 30 to 120% damage. So it's less powerful, steals less HP. Sure, you get a debuff, but the problem is that Massacre and presumably Proton Cannon, those are supposed to be finishing moves, not continuing moves. So, I'm wondering what they were thinking with these revamps. The things that people were complaining about on Cyber Hunter was that it wasn't really viable. First of all, they were complaining about Plasma Cannon, which was changed, but they were also complaining about Neurotoxin, which is a terrible skill. Like, hands down, a support debuff is not any good. Even if you upgrade it really high, it doesn't reduce defense, it only reduces auxiliary damage and maybe a few other skills that deal support damage, but the problem is that most support builds that are going to be dealing high damage like that are going to have really high levels of support, so using a debuff on them won't have nearly the same effect as a strength debuff would on a strength build, for example. This needs to go away. This needs to be replaced with something else. This nanotech shield, no one uses this either, because damage reduction just isn't, it's not very good. And, you know, you have to upgrade it to level 10 pretty much before it really is any good. I don't know if any of y'all watched my video where I broke down my new class suggestions, but you might have noticed that Mana Shield has that same 30% damage reduction that gets diverted to energy. It's the same as this at max level, and that other skill, Mana Shield, gives technology. This doesn't do any of that. And it costs energy, which Mana Shield does not do. Mana Shield is a good skill. Nanotech Shield is not. People wanted this skill to go away, they wanted this skill to go away. They did not want Malfunction to go away. They didn't want Massacre to go away. The only build that I can see being even close to viable is a strength support build. The problem is that doesn't mesh with either of the passives. Plasma Armor isn't good for that build. Gene Augment is not good for that build. I can't see any Cyber Hunter build being even close to viable anymore. I'm not entirely sure what the thought process behind these changes were. There's just, this was a bad class before, and it's absolutely awful now. I forgot to mention, this does physical damage. That doesn't synergize with the Plasma Grenade debuff. There's no Malfunction anymore. None of these skills synergize with each other at all. There's no way you can make something good with this. I honestly don't even know what else to say about this anymore. there needs to be some serious changes with Cyber Hunter. Maybe there needs to be some consultation on the part of players who are very familiar with the meta, because I'm not sure that this was done here. I don't know where they got either of these ideas from. Okay, well, this has been about 15 minutes of rambling now, so I'm gonna just go ahead and finish up the design notes here. This shouldn't have been done. The stun chance debuff. Like, I get that Terrify and Frenzy already had a 20% stun chance, but that was because both of those were very strong skills. These did not need to be nerfed to 20%. Stun Grenade is already a bad skill. That needs to be buffed. Overload probably needs to be buffed too. Maul is okay, but Mercenary doesn't really have any strength or strength support builds that work very well. No one uses Paralysis coding. I'm not sure what the intent behind these balance changes were this week. I just think that all of these were bad ideas. And then there was the server maintenance thing. So I will give kudos for the new items. I think that making Soul Siphon available for credits was a good thing. The Spread Fire gun is okay. The new bot is okay. It would be a pretty good bot, I think, if they made the special reusable. But the balance changes and the absolute gutting of Cyber Hunter, I don't know. There needs to be a lot more effort behind these changes. You really have to do better with this. So, all that to say, I think I'm gonna give this update a 2 out of 10. I know like that. That honestly might seem high to some, considering all of my criticism. But there was at least some effort on the part of the weapons. The new achievement is good, but the balance updates, I don't agree with any of them. All of those need to be reverted. Cyber Hunter basically needs to be changed almost back to how it was originally. We need to have Defense Matrix back, because there is currently really no way to defend yourself against Bounty Hunter or any build that uses a high amount of physical damage. There are no good dexterity builds, because nothing on this build improves with dexterity. That's about all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked my commentary, I would suggest watching my other videos. And that's about it for this one. Peace out.